All right, let's get Mike Silver in here, and then we'll get back to your calls on the Warriors and more. Hey, Mike, what's going on today, man?
Not much. Warriors calls. There's nothing going on with them.
Right? Have you lobbed your good buddy Steve Kerr a call yet to say, hey, if there's anybody who knows how to write about locker room drama, it's me, Mike Silver?
I did text him last night and say, Warriors practices are a lot more eventful than 49ers practices. He laughed. So.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Even though in camp you get the occasional dust up, you get players throwing hands at each other, but nothing like that going on with the 49ers, Mike. It was good to see you, by the way, Monday night in a game that the Niners badly needed. And now how do you not look beyond Carolina and already look ahead to Kansas City?
Yeah, they've got Carolina and Atlanta on the road. They're going to stay out there in between in lovely West Virginia. But, one player told me after the game, if we don't come home 4-2, we're in trouble. So that's the deal. They've had 2 bad losses, but, it's early in the season. The offense looked awful. They just had a good win, and I think showed that, at least based on what we know now, they can still compete at the highest level, and obviously that defense is really, really special. So that's the good news, but you don't want to get in too much of a hole. The whole NFC West is 2-2, I will note, but you want to go pick on the 32nd ranked offense in the league in Carolina and a Falcons team that provoked their coach to complain after a week 1 loss that you all had us ranked 45th. I'm still doing the math on that one, but I don't know that anyone actually ranked them 45th. And as I said at the time, why you got to throw shade at all the 44 other NFL teams?
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, that was offensive. So that's interesting. We got to come back 4-2, or else we're in trouble. And speaking of in trouble, like Mike, I'd love for you to now kind of look back on the week and a half that was. We know that winning cures all, but how did you feel about the way the 49ers navigated their way through that whole Kyle Jimmy thing? Steve Young saying there was kind of an edge of resentment. It's easy to forget about that after a win, but to what level do you think that is sort of a thing this year?
Yeah, I mean, that's all fair. Well, first of all, I thought what Jimmy said after the Denver game was totally defensible in that he didn't have an off season, he didn't have OTAs, he didn't have a preseason. He's coming off shoulder surgery and getting the arm into shape. So, maybe the Seattle game was an illusion, Jimmy coming in and looking so good and so comfortable. I think it's reasonable that it would take a little time to get into a rhythm offensively. So hopefully what we saw against the Rams, hopefully for them, is what, they really are, and they can get better from that. But I thought that was okay. So, yeah, I mean, the Rams once again seem to have brought out the best in them and potentially allowed them to get out of a hole. But, one thing I've learned doing this for 8,000 years is that we don't know. We could look back and go, man, the Rams were headed for 5-12 and it all fell apart, and we didn't realize at the time they weren't really that good. Or we might go, man, that loss to the Bears doesn't look so bad. Okay, that's probably not likely, but it's possible that the Bears could be like, 10-4 in December and be like, wow. So, we don't really know, but I do think one thing that Charvarius Ward told me after the Bronco game, I said, God, you guys have been so good defensively. And he said, yeah, but our goal is to force 3 turnovers a game. We didn't force any. We're not doing that enough. So obviously they got the 2 late against the Rams, one of them for a touchdown. So that's how you take a defense that has been tremendous and take it to the next level, at least at the stage right now where it looks like they have to carry the team.
Yeah, right now, through 4 games, they've allowed the second fewest points per game in NFL history, so needless to say, they are in elite company. Offensively, George Kittle feels more like a third tackle than he does a tight end. How do they get him unlocked?
Well, I mean, it's risk-reward right now, right? They have the luxury of having him as a blocker, and they don't have Trent Williams. And, Now they're on their third left tackle with Jalen Moore. And they've also, by the way, have 3 new starters, inexperienced starters on the inside, and then McGlinchey coming back from an injury. So Chris Furster, the offensive line coach, is really, really good at this. I think they will round into form as the season goes on, but it makes perfect sense for me. You've got a perennial Pro Bowl fullback in Kyle Juszczyk. You've got one of the, of the elite pass-catching tight ends. Kittle might be the best blocker, probably is. So, yeah, you got to use that. We always say that, hey, just chip with a running back or a tight end. But George Kittle was literally, blocking Leonard Floyd at one point. So I get it. Look, I love when Kittle catches the ball. It's an important thing, and you got to pick your spots. But I do think that's reasonable right now, especially with a quarterback who is less mobile in Jimmy.
Mike, are there any issues in the secondary, the classic good problem to have? They've gotten better safety play than anyone in the NFL, and now here comes Jimmy Ward. So what do they do?
I always laugh when, there's a saying among football people where there'll be a player who he doesn't really fit with the defense and say, well, where do you put him? And the answer is on the field. So, you've Minka Fitzpatrick, the Dolphins were like, where do you put him? Mike Tomlin was like, I'll take him, and you know where I'm going to put him? Wherever. He's one of my best 11. So you want to get your best 11 out there. Tayshaun Gibson's been really, really good. Obviously, Bufanga's been a revelation, and he will be there for a long, long time. But Jimmy Ward, you want him out there somehow. So, realistically, we think of secondaries still in this outdated 4-person mode where there's a free safety and a strong safety and 2 corners just out there on the outside. And, it's obviously really, really changed. And, obviously there are 5 starting defensive backs because there's a nickel back, and you have defenses where there are more than that. So I think you will see a way that Jimmy Ward, Gibson, and Hufanga are all very, very involved.
And they played nickel actually 100% of the time on Monday night, to your point. Nick Bosa, Defensive Player of the Year favorite right now, Mike?
If they win lots of games, I would say, yeah. I mean, it's a weird award, right? Sometimes they just go, this guy's got the most sacks. Let's give it to him. Sometimes they go, man, that guy is a great player on a great defense, and they're the number 1 or 2 seed. Sometimes they just go, yeah, let's just give it to Aaron Donald because he's actually the best guy. But, I don't know. I think he's certainly, if you had to give an award after 4 weeks, would be right there in the conversation. I mean, he's just been a mauler, and quietly very, very good against the run too. So I covered that game in 2019 when he planted the flag after sacking Baker, and talked to him after that. I have a feeling he may be motivated for this one, especially since he senses weakness on Baker and the Panthers.
Yeah, on paper.
But I want to catch myself, because going into Denver, I was like, gee, what could go wrong? You've got a crowd counting down play calls, and an offense that looks unable to even get a play called, and you've got this 49er defense. They're going to eat them alive. They did play very, very well, but didn't see the Broncos winning that one.
No, it's a fair point. What could go wrong in the NFL? The answer is always everything. So we'll see. Hey, Mike, great stuff as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, thanks a lot, you guys.